You're listening to Brave Girls with Tracy Im, where we choose to empower you to be a better leader, mentor, and coach in the world. We'll share stories of people who have achieved great heights by overcoming adversity and rising to the challenge, all while pursuing their passions. These courageous people will inspire you to have faith in yourself and take bold action. Right here with the host of Brave Girls, Tracy Im.
Episode 19, Your Personal Brand Matters with Frances Reimers. On this episode of Brave Girls, I talk with brand expert Frances Reimers from the personal brand consultancy Firestarter. She talks about how she's leveraged her business development and content marketing experience at an agency to start her own firm, where she works with professional athletes, celebrities, politicians, executives, and corporations. Her path to entrepreneurship was a total leap of faith, and she's never looked back. Her laser-like focus on what she wanted to offer and who she wanted to work with have helped launch her very quickly. Frances routinely speaks from the stage about personal branding to attract new clients. She gives tidbits to her audience that spark aha moments, which she absolutely loves. She also advocates speaking as a way to expand your brand presence, share your message, and engage potential clients. She shares how she engages audiences during her speech and why she only uses a few PowerPoint slides when she gives a talk. We talk about how to define, protect, and grow your personal brand through social media and public relations, and the approach that Frances takes when she works with her clients. We also talk about crisis communications techniques that can be used when your personal brand is under attack. Frances believes you should create a robust LinkedIn profile to showcase your personal brand and attract these new opportunities. Frances is open, honest, and transparent regarding her decision to go out on her own and put it all on the line when she knew it was time. I know that you'll enjoy listening to my conversation with another brave girl, Frances Reimers. So welcome to Brave Girls with Tracy M. Today, I have Frances Reimers from Firestarter here with us today. And Firestarter is a brand consulting firm where Frances works with her clients to tailor and train them on how to position themselves in the marketplace, how to engage stakeholders, and how to motivate customers. So welcome to the show, Frances.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So you and I met a few years ago when we were on a panel, and at that time you were in corporate and you were working for a marketing and creative production agency where you were doing a lot of business development and client engagement and content marketing, and then you decided to go out on your own. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so for many, many years I worked for a company called PCI, who is now actually rebranded themselves. They're now called Yes and Agency. But when I was there, it was PCI, and in that time, I was the director of corporate visibility, and this was a role that had been created for me by my then CEO, because he was really starting to see a pattern with just the way I was interacting with clients and my ability to engage with them and get them interested in content and getting creative with content, and how I was able to kind of turn those interactions into business development opportunities, and how I was, launching my own particular brand. And so I had that role created for me, which was great. And I did a lot in that position. When I was in that position for PCI, I increased our social media and website traffic by triple digits. And so it was a great position, and it was a great learning opportunity, and really kind of a great testing ground for me to see if this whole personal branding thing really worked, and did this concept really work. And as I saw, it really does. And so it got to the point where I'd really kind of done everything that I could do in the position. And I was like, well, why not try to see if I can do this on my own? So I did. and starting your own business is such a undescribable experience. I have to fully admit that I am kind of a take a leap off the cliff and figure out if you're going to fly kind of person. And so I did not create a business plan. I did not seek funders. I did not, have this 1 year, 3 year, 5 year strategic communications plan. I did none of that. I literally came home on a Friday night and was just like, you know what, let's figure out if this is going to happen. And I, started researching the name of my company and what I thought it should be and what I thought it could be. And literally by the end of the weekend, I had a name of the company. I had all of my online assets secured. I had all my paperwork and everything with my attorney in process, and had designers on the case of getting the actual look and feel of the company pulled together. And so it was really kind of a taking a leap off the cliff and seeing if I was going to fly, and I did. And I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and I knew exactly who I wanted to work with. And I really got started right away of cultivating my relationships, leveraging my network, if you will, of letting people know that I had started this company and who I was looking to serve and what I was looking to do. Luckily enough for me, the first 2 months of me owning my company, I still worked at PCI because I had a large book of clients that I needed to close out those accounts or transition those accounts. So I couldn't do the standard 2 weeks notice. They really did need a lot of time to transition me out of a role that I've spent 7 years building. And so luckily for me, I had a little bit of hybrid time, which some people when starting a business, they aren't that fortunate. They have to be completely done with one before they can start the other. But I had a little bit of overlap. But everything that I had done at PCI really truly gave me a good foundation for starting my company and how to build out this new frontier. Personal branding is still relatively new. I mean, there are lots of people, and I come across them every day, that really truly have no concept of what personal branding is. They think it's just, a buzzword that people use at corporate meetings or stuff that you only see in business publications. They don't think that it is a real or tangible thing. And when I start talking to them about how, this is not something that is just pertinent to, those in the spotlight, athletes, celebrities, politicians, that sort of thing, that this is pertinent to every single human being. And I get them to see that and understand that the dialogue around what I'm doing and the company that I've built has really started to change. And so, yeah, I mean, it's been a kind of crazy drinking from the fire hose sort of experience, but that's my personality. I probably would be incapable of doing this any other way if it wasn't 9,000 miles an hour with your hair on fire. If someone would have forced me, if somebody would have forced me to sit down and create a business plan and have to explain to them why I need funding or any of those sorts of things, my business probably wouldn't have happened.
Right. Yeah. And I know that, I've been following you ever since I met you, and you are very dynamic. And I think that years of business development for somebody else's agency definitely prepared you. But what I also see is that you're using the stage to get your message out, and you're definitely on the speaker circuit. In fact, you just pre-show banter, you were telling me about a conference in DC that you were on the stage, and then after you get off the stage, then people are just kind of like flocking to you because they want more and they want to actually pursue working with you. So I think that's probably served you really well, that you are so articulate that when you get up on the stage, you can share the message. So how are you using speaking to kind of grow your business?
Well, speaking is truly my passion. If I tell people all the time, if people just paid me to give speeches every day, that's all I would do. I love it. I think in another life I was an educator, and I love brand, and so I'm passionate about brand. I'm passionate about teaching people about brand, and I love the fact that in my presentations I give lots of tidbits that are probably pretty common sense, but most of us, it's not in the forefront of our brains. So I love in my presentation when I look out in the audience and I've given a little tidbit, that I see the look on somebody's face that they're literally having like an aha moment, and the light bulb in some way, shape, or form has turned on for them. And for me, that's it. Like, if that's all I get out of that presentation, I'm good, because I've taught one person, I've changed one person, and I know it because I can see it by the look on their face. So I really enjoy speaking, and I tell people all the time that speaking is one of the greatest ways to expand your brand, because instead of sending out a mass email or cold calling or whatever the case may be, you are in front of a captive room of 10, 15, 20, 100, 200 people, and you have the floor. You are uninterrupted for 15, 20, 30, minutes, an hour, 90 minutes if you're lucky, and you are completely uninterrupted, and you get to share your message. And if you are, skilled and dynamic at delivering your message, it's probably going to yield major benefits for you. And I actually have a blog piece on my website that educates people of how to make the most of a speaking engagement, because a lot of people I see out on the speaking circuit, that they show up, they give the speech, they leave, that's the end of it. If you go on their social media, maybe there's a picture, maybe they do like a flashback Friday about it, and that's it. And to me, in terms of branding, you're leaving so much on the table if that's all you do. And there's really a lot of things that I like to do before, during, and after the speech, just to elongate that moment in time. And
That's smart. That's really smart.
Yeah. You've already built a memory with this group of people. If you were successful at engaging them during the speech, when you talk about it after the fact, they're probably going to like it or share it or say something about it. And so you can turn something that was one moment in time to multiple moments in time. But yet so many speakers just leave so much on the table.
Right.
I think it's because of a lack of awareness of how to manage their own brand, and that they think that one moment in time is all that they need. But keep in mind, we humans, we have so many messages, so much material coming at us all the time, that you really do have to try to keep yourself at the top of people's thought process. And
Right.
So the things I do before, during, and after are really just a way for me to keep myself top of mind to those people that I've already, have had in a captive state for a certain amount of time. But speaking for Firestarter's business development efforts has been vital. Most of the appearances that I've done over the past almost 2 years have been very integral to this company's growth. And I've been very strategic about who it is that I'm speaking before. And I'm fortunate enough that I have enough speaker credits under my belt that I'm at this stage in my career, I'm no longer doing pro bono speeches. If
Right.
it's, if it's a particular cause or organization or something of high value, I might be willing to consider waiving my speaker fee. But at this point in time, I'm being paid to appear, and that's what a lot of people strive towards.
Right.
But what I always caution people is that, I've been in the marketing and communications game for almost 20 years. So it's taken a long time to build up enough credit, build up enough clout, that I can, look somebody in the eye and say, yes, you have to pay X amount of dollars for me to appear. A lot of people assume that you come right out of the gate with that, and that's not true. I don't care how senior you are in your career, if you don't have a lot of speaking credit to your under your belt, it's going to be hard to convince an organization that they should pay you to appear. So it's luckily enough for me in jobs prior, dating all the way back to when I first got to DC, I made public speaking a priority in my own personal career development, and it afforded me the opportunity now to, say, yes, you should pay me, and look at my resume to back up why you should be paying me to speak. And so I love it. I love doing it, and it's been one of the most integral pieces in the growth of Firestarter, for sure.
So let me ask you this. So you talked about the before, during, and after. Let's talk about the during and how you make sure that you are engaging during the speech. What do you have, like a flow or a formula that you try to use? Do you use facts? Like, talk to me a little bit about when you're preparing for, you're in front of this audience, like for this last weekend, you were going to be on stage in front of a bunch of coaches. And I know athletes, you have a particular following now of pro athletes, collegiate athletes, coaches, those types of things. So how do you prepare, and how does that flow?
So during the presentation, it's very simple. At the top of every presentation, I actually tell everybody to take out their phones. A lot of public speakers, they want all phones away. They want all eyes on them. And I actually do the opposite. I tell everyone to take out their phones. And I mean, you can't really have a conversation about personal brand and be educating people about how to better their brand and not allow them to have their social media platforms up in front of them. So, this past weekend at my presentation, the room was set up classroom style. So I encouraged everybody to get out their phone, or if they have their laptop, they can certainly get out their laptop. And they did. And, while I'm talking, as I go throughout my PowerPoint presentation, my PowerPoint slides are very minimal. If you were to receive my PowerPoint presentation outside of my presentation, the PowerPoint would be completely meaningless to you. I'm a big believer that PowerPoints are actually the destruction of brand, because instead of looking at you and actually listening to your message, your audience is sitting there, looking and reading your slides. And so my PowerPoint slides are very minimal, and most of them are just photographs. There's not really any information, maybe a quote here and there, but there's no information on them. So on my slides, there's a frequent reminder about my social media platforms. And I encourage people to, connect with me, take pictures, post them. And a lot of speakers are terrified to do that because they're afraid, somebody is going to, post something negative or nasty. I honestly don't care. Go ahead, post something negative or nasty. And as soon as I'm done with the presentation, I will respond to you. I feel very confident in the content that I'm providing, and confident in the knowledge that I have, that I don't think somebody is going to, be that ballsy and is going to post something nasty to my social media accounts right then and there while I'm on the stage. So I allow people to have their phones out. I encourage them to contact me. I encourage them to take pictures and post pictures. And that's great for me, because that's traffic that keeps me and my activities at the top of the social media feed. When people post quotes from my presentation or things that I've highlighted, I love that even more, because it means that they're paying attention and they're really connecting with what I have to say. And then, of course, at the end of every presentation, I'm always happy to, post for pictures or to connect if they, for whatever reason, couldn't find me or couldn't get connected. And so I always make it known that I'm available after the presentation. I'm definitely not one of these speakers that the second they get off the stage, they're out the door. I always budget time, whether I have to catch a plane or whatever the case may be, but I always make sure to budget time so that I can hang around, at least for 30 minutes or so after my presentation, because personal branding is a question, is a topic that's personal. And sometimes people don't feel comfortable raising their hand and asking their question in front of a room full of their peers. But I always get a person or two, sometimes more, that come up after the speech and have very specific personal questions. So I always try to make myself available, and I don't hesitate to ask them if they come up and ask the question. I'm like, oh, hey, are we connected on social media? Did we connect? And most of the time they're like, yep, I started following you, or whatever the case may be. But I always do that, that extra touch, just to make sure that, we connected on that level. And it's just another way to help that grow. And I really love, my favorite is when, a lot of time has gone by and I post something about a different presentation or a different opportunity, and somebody who has been in a speech prior, likes it or says something positive about the upcoming presentation. That really lets me know that was a very, positive experience for them. And it really helps. It just deepens my brand equity when those things happen. I'm definitely a believer that you're only as good as your last piece of content. And for me, when people are liking the fact that I'm speaking somewhere else when they attended a speech that happened a long time ago, to me, that shows that I'm building a really good product.
Yeah, that's a true testament that you made an impact on them and they're still following you, and you've sparked something in them that they know now how important a personal brand is, and then how to protect it and how to grow it, right, and how to really define it. So I'm assuming that when you work with people, you really, especially like if you're working with somebody one-on-one, you really do a deep dive into their backstory to help them, especially if they're trying to create a story around their personal brand. So talk a little bit about the process you take people through when they come to you.
Yeah, so a little bit of it is proprietary, so I'll go on a higher level of stuff. But personal brand, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Personal brand is very personal, and if I am managing somebody's personal brand, if I'm managing their social media accounts or speaking on their behalf to the media, which are all services I provide my clients, I really have to know this person as well as I know myself, because part of the success in engaging the media is knowing the right time to insert yourself in the conversation. There's times where the conversation is brought to you, and then there's times where you see an opening in the conversation and you should jump in. But I can't do that for my clients unless I truly know them. And so, when I take on a client, and this process honestly is not for everybody. Some people, prefer their vendors, to stay at a distance, but this is one career field where you really can't do that. I truly have to become kind of part of this person's ecosystem, where they're going, what they're doing, who they're meeting with, who they're, the names of their family members, where they live, where do they vacation frequently, what are their hobbies, what are products or services that they are really into. Like, for example, I had one client who was really into Peloton, the cycles, and I mean, just so into it. And so, working with Peloton with them was something that we're actively pursuing. Right. And so, because he believes in it so wholeheartedly. But these are things that, you really have to sit down and have a conversation with somebody. Also, you kind of have to be in their space at least once. Right. And so most of my clients, I'm based here in Alexandria, Virginia, but most of my clients are elsewhere. And so when I take on a new client, I definitely love to travel to where they live, and, see their home, see their spouse, see their life, what's in their kitchen, what kind of car do they drive, all of these things. Some people might find that incredibly intrusive, and understandably so, but me knowing these things about my clients allows me to keep my antenna up for opportunities that help their brand, especially for people who are ex-pro sports, and they're now retired and they're seeking ways to keep themselves relevant and in the spotlight. The more I know about things that they organically think and do, the more that I can try to insert them into conversations with sponsors, endorsers, people looking for speakers, charitable organizations looking for maybe a new face or a new partner. So the more I know about these things, the more I can assist these people. And and like I said, that's a process that's not for everybody. I've definitely had a few people sign on that are no longer with me because the idea of me knowing what they're doing and being part of their life day in and day out was just, they were really just wanting somebody to create magic in a bottle. And unfortunately, brand doesn't work that way. And I mean, I wish them the best, but it's definitely not going to happen for them.
Right. Well, and you talk about all the positives of like an ex-athlete trying to reinvent themselves and leverage off their prior, history and say the NFL. But then there's also the crisis communications. If you're intimately involved and knowledgeable of them, then you can probably also do some really good crisis PR if there is such a situation where maybe they're being portrayed in the media incorrectly, right?
Yeah. I mean, luckily, thank goodness, I haven't had any major crisis communications that we've needed to handle on behalf of any of my Firestarter clients. Most of my guys and gals lead very docile lives.
Right.
But yes, you're absolutely correct that the better you know somebody, the more you are able to, if there is a situation brewing in their personal life, you are more capable of getting out in front of it.
Yes.
Or if something should come out of left field, you're more prepared to be able to address it. A lot of people don't realize that, say, for example, if I have a client in Dallas, well, I don't live in Dallas. So if they're having a crisis in Dallas, I need to have the media contacts available to me to be able to do something about that remotely from where I live. And so the more that a client is open and honest and gives you a heads up, that allows you to build the necessary relationships that you need. You know, you and I are both PR people, and you know just as well as I do that you're able to do a lot more when you're able to pick up the phone and call somebody who can take care of a situation very quickly, rather than having to hunt and peck and send emails and do pitches and that kind of thing. So when a client allows me to come into their life and allows me to, you know, find out what's going on in their real life, the life behind the scenes, I'm much more effective at mitigating crisis situations if they were to arise.
Right. So I'm going to kind of shift gears a little bit. I know that you are on hiatus right now for your Let's Talk Personal internet radio show, but talk a little bit about that and how people can listen to maybe past episodes or get caught up on following you in the fall.
Yeah, so I had a weekly radio show, Let's Talk Personal, and every week I would talk to athletes, celebrities, business owners, association people, etc. Just a lot of people from my own personal network of friends and former colleagues who I think have really interesting stories or very inspirational stories. And we would talk about their brand, of course, because that's my favorite topic. Because everybody's brand journey is different. Even two people in the same exact career field can have a very different journey from one place to the other. And I'm always fascinated by how people build their brand, how they build their reputation and maintain their reputation. And then the other side of that is talking about social media and how it's impacted our everyday lives and how people are dealing with it or not dealing with it, and how it's changing the way we communicate and interact and do business. And so it's definitely a very lighthearted show. It sometimes can get a little silly and way off topic depending on the guests that I would have on there. But we try to keep it as on topic as humanly possible. But we are on our summer hiatus. We'll be back in the fall. Quite frankly, I needed a summer hiatus between growing a company and dealing with my own brand. Producing a radio show week after week was definitely getting to be a little too much. So no one was more excited for the summer break than I was, but we'll be back in the fall. But in the meantime, you can watch all of the past episodes on YouTube if you Google Let's Talk Personal, or you can go to my website where I have all of the past episodes listed, www.letstalkpersonal.com.
Great. Yeah, so let's talk about social media. So depending on who you are, I guess, is going to depend on the advice that you would give people regarding their social media. So if you're a corporate type person, you know, what would you say versus if you're an athlete? So talk a little bit about that.
Well, it's not so much it's not so much what somebody does for a living. It's really so much about their personal bandwidth and what they're trying to get out of the experience. Like,
okay.
I'm a firm believer that just like an exercise plan or a financial plan, if your heart is not in it, you're not going to do it. And so I don't care if you're a celebrity or a politician or a CEO, if you're not feeling it, you are not going to do it or do it well. So I always kind of instruct people to find a platform that interests them, find a platform that they feel like they can manage, and start there and start consistently building content and engagement on that platform. Then we can start building out, because nothing is worse to me, my personal opinion is nothing is worse than you go to somebody's social media feed and there's just no activity. They're there, but you can tell that they're either a person that just retweets everybody else's information, or they post very sporadically. That's usually somebody that I don't follow unless they're of high value to me or my company, just because it's not worth it. I don't want that filling, that taking up space in my brain. So I recommend to people that they find a platform that they like, that they're comfortable with, that they're going to master, and then start building from there. I do always strongly encourage everyone, and it doesn't matter if you're an athlete, a CEO, or a small business owner, I do strongly encourage everyone to have as much of a robust LinkedIn page as they can possibly have. I do think that's the one platform that we should all be utilizing, simply because it's today's resume. It's today's verification platform. Whoever you say you are in business, it better be on your LinkedIn page, or it really doesn't exist, in my opinion. So I always encourage everyone to utilize LinkedIn to its fullest extent. Understand how the algorithm and the keywords of LinkedIn really work, so that you can build out your nameplate, your bio, the kind of information you put under your experience, so that you can build that out the best way possible, so that you're, one, showing up in as many searches as possible, but two, when people look at your account to, verify if you're someone they'd like to have on their podcast, or come speak at their conference, or be the face of their charity, LinkedIn is usually where people go first. Unless you're an uber celebrity, then they might go to your Twitter, your Instagram first, rather than going to LinkedIn. But LinkedIn is kind of where the professional, structured, thought leadership part of all of us should reside, and people should construct it as such. And so outside of LinkedIn, I really just tell clients, regardless of their role in life, I don't care what platform you choose, just choose it and stick with it and be consistent with it, because that's far more effective in growing your brand than choosing something that you're not really feeling because everybody in XYZ industry is on that particular platform. It just really doesn't help you if you're not engaged. So that's usually the recommendations that I give to most of my clients.
Yeah, I think that's good counsel. I think you're right on point. So, Frances, the finale question that I always ask everybody is, what's the bravest thing you've ever done, and how does it inspire you today?
The bravest thing I've ever done, you mentioned this question earlier, and my brain was really asking. My brain was really searching for what the bravest thing I've ever done. I have a hard time answering that, because I'm sure a lot of people think that I've done some brave things, but I don't believe that I've done brave things. Everything I do in my life is usually, I just do it. I don't view it as brave or not brave. But if I had to choose something, I would probably say in recent memory, the bravest thing I've done is starting this company. A lot of people would look at my decision to start my company and think that I was a little nutso. I was, very well compensated at PCI, had a very good platform at PCI, and a lot of people, have told me that they would have never walked away from what I had there to start my own company. And so I definitely think that's probably the bravest thing that I've ever done is walking away from a very stable, lucrative position without a plan, without, a lot of safety net underneath me, and starting this company. And almost 2 years later, we're still alive and kicking and doing our thing. And so I think that's hands down probably the bravest thing to date that I've done.
Mm-hmm. Did you just feel like there was so much more in you and so much more that you could offer to more people by having that freedom to go create Firestarter?
Yeah, a little bit of that, but also it was a little bit of the majority of my colleagues at the time were male, and I was getting to be quite blunt, I was getting very tired of having to prove myself over and over and over again, to the same group of people that I've worked with for years and years and years. So a little bit of it was, you know what, if I'm going to have to keep proving myself over and over and over, I'd rather do it just to me and have to prove myself to me over and over again, rather than these people who really have no real control over my life. If we're dealing with this headache, I'd rather deal with impressing myself rather than impressing this group of people who their feelings have more to do with their insecurities than my actual job performance. And so a little bit of it was, I was just ready to, really, really put it all out on the line. A lot of people, I think, thought some of my success was because of the organizational platform that I had surrounding me. And while I very much appreciated the organizational infrastructure that I had around me, I knew darn well that my success was due in part to my own perseverance and creativity and intelligence. And so
absolutely,
I was tired of having to explain to people, mostly men, that no, this is actually me and my capabilities and my intelligence. And so, not to turn this into a gigantic gender debate, but because I have a lot of amazing men in my life that I wouldn't be where I am without them. But I just got tired of having to explain that, no, I really know what I'm talking about, and I really know what I'm doing. I'm not just a pretty face in a cute dress. And starting my own company out of thin air and operating it completely on my own is definitely a surefire way to prove myself absolutely correct.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you've been in business now for 2 years. You're rocking it out. You didn't have that infrastructure. You created the infrastructure. So there's only one explanation, and that's you, and through your tenacity and your intelligence and the fact that you did know what you were doing. So I'm so happy for you, Frances, because you're out there, you're doing your thing, you're speaking from stages, you're helping people see the value of a personal brand, and you're lending your talents and your abilities to help them expand their brands into new areas and new territories. And so they're so lucky to have you as sort of the brand coach in the background, really helping them pull together things that they don't even know that they need to be pulling together. So I think it's a testament to you, and I'm just so glad that you took that brave move and that you were courageous, and I just wish you the best of luck moving forward.
Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Brave Girls with Tracy M. as much as I did creating it. Each show is produced with you, the listener, in mind, as you look for inspiration and motivation from other brave souls as you pursue your desires. I'd love to hear your feedback, so please leave me a review on iTunes. I read every one. And check out my website, tracym.com, for more free resources. You can also join my list and sign up for my newsletter right from the homepage. Until next time, stay strong, believe in your dreams, and go do something brave.
We appreciate you joining us for this episode of Brave Girls with Tracy M. and hope that you enjoyed the show. For more information about today's episode, as well as additional free resources to help you achieve greatness in your life, visit tracym.com and sign up for our mailing list. Until next time, dream big, believe in yourself, and let your brilliance shine as only you can do.